Hey, welcome back to our next episode of Speaking Saturdays. Glad to have you here. Let's get started with our part one questions. Do you like teamwork? No, I hate teamwork. To be honest, I love working alone. I mean, even in school, college, university, anytime I was paired up with someone, it was just, right from the beginning, it was just this feeling of, even with friends, I don't necessarily mean with random people. Like this one time when I was in high school, I was paired up with a friend of mine to do some kind of a book report. And the teacher was like, you could even do like a music report, an album report, something like that. And I was like, okay, why not do, an album report? My friend was like, books are better. I'm like, yeah, of course. I mean, I'm just trying to do something that's fun. And so we didn't see eye to eye. We literally had an argument. Because again, I mean, I'm a stubborn person. I don't really like doing things the way other people want them to do. So I don't like being told what to do. It is what it is. I'm too old to change it anyway now, and I wouldn't want to change it either way. Anytime I've done teamwork, it's always like I do everything. Also, because I'm kind of what they call obsessive compulsive traits, where I need things to be done the way I want them to be done. I'm very like, anal about like font sizes and colors, and everything has to be, perfectly adjusted. So I just take control. If I am doing some kind of teamwork, I just take control naturally. And that means that, like, I know this is like getting way out of hand. It's just the first question, but, let me yipping lap. I love yapping. A few years ago, I was studying German, I still am, and we had this group project, and I did like, I kid you not, I did 90% of the work, everything, and there were like three other people. One didn't even show up. The other one wanted to steal my credit. She's like, "Oh, you can do this slide and I can do that." So I'm like, "No, you do what you worked on." And then I told the professor everything as well. Ugh, I hate teamwork. Have you teamed up with someone else before? Okay, that kind of, I already answered the question, but here we go. I have, unfortunately, and it has always been against my will. If it were up to me, I'd do everything alone. But you know what? I mean, okay, jokes aside, to be honest though, I do think that there's this phrase that goes, teamwork makes the dream work. And ever since I hired my assistant, I mean, well, I've had a string of assistants throughout the years, but I first hired someone in 2021, and she really just made my life so much easier having an assistant. So I mean, even the assistant I have right now, she's so great. It's so reliable, just having someone as a team. I'm not alone. I have a team, right? I have someone that works with me. And it's so great, because there's strengths that she has that are not my strengths, right? And so in a team you have your strengths and weaknesses, and they combine together, where I have these gaps that she fills in, right? So that's really, I've learned that that's a great thing. But then, like, obviously it's kind of different in a team at work versus a team, like, in school and etc. So yeah, I mean, it has its pros for sure. Like, I could never do the work that I do without my assistant. So I'm really grateful for that. And I would love to, like, when I had another person working with me, it was also great. It keeps, I think everyone is like energized and motivated, because in a team, that you're all kind of working towards the same goal. So that's really, really good. I know, it's like, I just did such a 180. I was saying all these negative things about teamwork, and now I'm like, no, no, teamwork is great. But what do you learn from working in a team? I think you learn to, well, it depends on the kind of person you are. You learn to be less stubborn. You learn to deal with other people's ideas, accept criticism of yourself, but also learn to give useful feedback, learn to take feedback, learn to work around, like I was saying, other people have their strengths and weaknesses, you have your strengths and weaknesses. So we learn to combine the two in a way that's what partnership is, right? Partnership is like, you have your gaps, I have mine, and they should be kind of harmonious, right? Where whatever my weakness is somebody else's strength, and somebody else's weakness is my strength. So when you have that kind of, a combination in a team, that's perfect. But that's also really, really tough to find. What do you dislike about teamwork? Well, it depends on what kind of teamwork, of course. But, normally when I think of teamwork, I think, oh, those awful school and college projects. Because the thing is, one person almost always does all the hard work and everybody else is just a credit stealer. So I hate that. And I also hate, I'm kind of a control freak, I'll admit that. If somebody else were to, even if somebody else were to take on the majority of the work, it's almost never going to be up to my standards. And I hate looking at, for example, if there's like a gap before a comma, it just annoys me so much. Or if the font sizes are different in one paragraph, like other people don't even notice, but it just really, really annoys me so much. And like I said, I have these obsessive compulsive traits where I mean, I would hate to use the term perfectionist because I don't think my work is perfect, but like, it really annoys me. So I'm not like compatible with most teamwork except for the team at work that I have right now, which is just perfect. But that's because that's the team that you build, right? So when you're forced into a team, that sucks. But when you get to pick your team, when you get to build your team, that's just perfect. So there's like these two entirely different experiences where somebody forces you in a team without really caring about strengths and weaknesses, and the other one where you build your own team. So the latter is just a dream, honestly. Okay, let's try part two questions. Describe your favorite climate. You should say what kind of climate it is, where it occurs, how hot or cold it is, and explain why you like this type of climate. Well, this is easy. Well, I just love long winters and dark skies. But of course, that's not really, I mean, where I live, it's humid all year round and it's sunny. And honestly, I find that it's kind of depressing, when it's very sunny and the sky is clear. I'm trying to not see it that way. There are times when I enjoy, the sun, but I really prefer, like, I feel so motivated and energized whenever it's dark outside, or if it's raining, or if it's cold, but I just want it to be dark outside. I guess that's kind of why I'm a night owl, but the kind of climate that I would thrive in is, I mean, you'd only find that in the northern hemisphere. So that kind of sucks because, well, again, like having the least sunshine hours, there's very specific places where you find this type of weather, and unfortunately, it's not always conducive to human life. Like, I would live in Antarctica if they had great internet and everything that I needed. I don't even care. But yeah, generally, I prefer colder climates. I really cannot tolerate the heat. I get angry and cranky, irritable. I'm not a good person when it's hot outside. So I like just stay at home where it's nice and cool. A lot of people have the idea that, depending on when you're born, like some people are born in the summer and they prefer summer. I was born like in the fall and I prefer winter. So I guess it's kind of a funny thing, but I have seen that people tend to be like that. Of course, I mean, I could be wrong, but yeah, I don't think that, if you think about it, and this is kind of going to get a little bit weird, but if you think about it, a lot of progress has been made in largely colder climates. In warmer climates, especially where food grows all the year round, you don't really have to plan for the future because the food is already there. But what if you're some villager in Norway, like maybe 1,000 years ago? If you don't plan for the future, you're gonna die of starvation. So these people really had to learn to plan for the future, and if you didn't plan for the future, you just died. Your genes would not pass on. Meanwhile, everywhere where there's an abundance of agriculture, you generally don't see a lot of development. And this is kind of a controversial idea. Maybe I shouldn't expand on it too much, but it makes a lot of sense when you think about it because that kind of harsh environment really forces you to think long term and, prepare for the future. No wonder their economies are so much better. Well, that was kind of a weird take, but, it's just something I've seen online a lot, and I am chronically online, so yeah. Well, let's go on to part three. Okay. Do you prefer a climate with distinct four seasons or a changeable climate? I think it's a lot of fun when you have separate seasons. You have the cold, and then it starts to get less cold, and you finally have warmth. And I think that is also good, for for the environment? Like, I mean, in terms of like, you have specific crop growing seasons, right? Like, you get strawberries when it's cold, you get certain types of fruits when it's warmer, you get flowering plants during certain seasons. So I think it's really beautiful because you learn to appreciate how, temporal everything is. Like, that you can't, like, it's maybe the middle of summer, you're not going to get like strawberries. So you learn to appreciate when you finally do get good. I mean, of course, nowadays you can pretty much grow anything anywhere, but it's all like GMO stuff, and I don't care about that. But you learn to appreciate winter, like, oh, it won't be winter in some time, it'll be spring. You learn to appreciate spring because there'll be summer. You learn to appreciate summer because that soon the days will become darker and there'll be less light. So you learn to enjoy each season, and also you get tired and then there's a new season, so it's a lot of fun. I like variety. What are the differences between people living in cold places and those living in hot places? Oh, like I was saying, I mean, the sun and warmth are really good for agriculture. Cold places, not so much. You can't grow anything. You have to survive on like hunting and fishing and so on. If you can fish, if the rivers aren't frozen already. So we see that there's this great, distinct divide. Of course, I mean, there's many theories, and again, this is just a theory, but what I see is that colder, I mean, there's hardly a cold, nation that isn't developed, right? And you wonder why, because these people had to, like, they came from lineage, they came from stock where, as I was saying, you have a harsh winter ahead of you. If you don't plan for the future, if you don't develop these skills, you're gonna die and you won't have children. Your weak genes will not pass on. Meanwhile, we almost always see this pattern evolving in warmer climates because food grows all the year round. You never have to worry, you never have to plan for the future. Yeah, maybe you won't get this specific fruit in this month, but you'll definitely get something to eat. You never really have to worry about hunting, planning for the future, because food is always there. So of course, you produce a lot more. They get to pass their genes on a lot more because there's, wherever there's food, people will breed. Animals will breed too. Well, humans are basically animals, aren't they, in a way? Man is a social animal. Anyway, that's a different thing. So it's an interesting theory, and I mean, that depends. Again, it's just a theory, what you think of it. Some people would say, oh, it's because of colonialism and all that you have all these successful countries and not so successful countries. But even if you look at North Korea, I mean, yeah, it's kind of a pariah on the world stage, but North Korea, I mean, they're smart, they're intelligent, they're not dumb or anything. I mean, yeah, you don't like them because they don't have a lot of freedom, but hey, they're really smart. You can't deny that they're not, like, intelligent. They're cunning, yes, cunning. The government, I mean, not the people, of course, but yeah, there is something. I think this is something that maybe should be investigated a lot more. What are the effects of climate on one's feelings? I think that this has actually been researched. I believe that so I don't know if you know about Singapore, but I forgot his name. I think his name was Lee Wan Q, something like that. Sorry, if I'm butchering it. I keep reading about it on Twitter. So he basically completely changed the country because he mass installed air conditioners everywhere. Singapore, as you know, is humid, it's tropical, it's warm. And he had this idea that, if it's too warm, if it's too hot outside, people aren't going to be very productive. And, I mean, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that there's some kind of research that says that the actual ideal environment, I mean, the temperature for people, for human beings to, operate at their like highest productivity is like somewhere around 24 degrees, 22 degrees, something like that. And it makes a lot of sense to me personally because whenever it's hot outside, like I was saying, I get very irritable. I am cranky, not a nice person to be around. It just annoys me to no end. And I'm sure it annoys a lot of other people as well. But when it's cold outside, you're like warm inside, you're friendly, your mood, well, my mood anyway, is a lot better. And I think it's kind of generally true as well. Why not? I mean, see, if it's cold, you can just put on more and more clothing. But what are you going to do if it's hot? I mean, other than getting an air conditioner, that's the only solution there is. But if you're outside, you cannot exactly hold an air conditioner above your head now, can you? So, yeah, I do think that climate plays a role not just in your feelings, not just in how you feel, but also, I mean, just look at Singapore. They were, I mean, like in the 70s or 60s, they were still developing, but now they're, a country to look up to. So that's really, I mean, that's like living proof right there that, we need to work on the climate to ensure that people can be productive and, they can be happier and so on. How do people in your country feel about the current climate? Oh, well, lately we're getting a lot of news about how like this month was the warmest in 123 years, and there's people complaining about how, oh, at this time of the year it used to be cold, and now I still have to have my fan on, stuff like that. Which I mean, like we definitely had one of the hottest summers this year, so people really are starting to get concerned. In fact, there's, like last year, I think even this year, the rains have been awful, very, very unseasonal. So people are unhappy, of course, because, I mean, if especially with the rains, I mean, if there's bad rains, that's going to affect agriculture, that's going to affect the cost of, food and all of that. So people have really been venting online, and, we're starting to realize that, wow, the climate really is damaged. I mean, it's, of course, I mean, there's a lot of factors that contribute to that, but because even I can like feel when I was a child, when I was like 7, 8 years old, I know for sure that the summers were definitely warm, but they weren't like, it wouldn't like hurt your skin to go outside. And the winters were really nice, would wear sweaters. But now it's like, it's definitely different compared to, what it was like 20 years ago. And people are definitely very vocal about it online. Okay, so that was the test for today. If you watched the video through to the end, wow, thanks a lot. And if you liked the video, don't forget to click on the like button. And if you'd like to chat about anything, or if you have any feedback, suggestions, comments, whatever, leave a comment down below. I'd love to interact with you. And yep, I'll see you in the next video that's going to come out pretty soon. Bye.